Do you find yourself getting randomly swarmed by all the enemies, or getting randomly one-shot when you least expect it? Well, in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down some of the core mechanics of POE 2 to help you survive and maybe give you reasons why you're dying in mapping or campaign. I'll be going over things such as the 3 basic defensive layers, elemental resistances, attack patterns, mapping, and more. So with that, let's get into the video. So Path of Exile 2 has 3 major class-oriented defensive systems. We have Armor, Evasion, and Energy Shield, and I'm going to go ahead and talk about Energy Shield first as I think it's the easiest to explain. So Energy Shield is a little defensive layer that is applied over top of your life. So any damage that you take is first going to be taken away from Energy Shield and then your life. So Energy Shield is shown right here beside your health bar, notated as this little blue bar, and you have a value right here if you have it turned on in the settings. So any damage that I take is first going to be subtracted from here before my life. Energy Shield recharges passively over time based off of a rate that you have in your passive skill tree or based on your gear. So Energy Shield in itself is really strong, as you can just have a free defensive layer that recharges for free over time. So the next system that we're going to talk about is Evasion, and Evasion is kind of like a dodge system they've oriented to the game. So Evasion is based off of a percentage value right here that you get off of your gear, and typically the way that it works is it says 79%, and that means I have a 79% chance to dodge all melee and projectile attacks that happen. Now, something to note about Evasion is that it does not include slam attacks or spells. The only way that you can evade those is with a node called Acrobatics in the passive skill tree. Acrobatics will allow you to dodge all hits with a massive dive to your evasion rating, so only take this if you have a really high evasion rating. I recommend getting above well over 50%. If you can push into the 60s or 70s, then acrobatics definitely is worth the payoff. Something else to take note of is that evasion is a curve. It isn't linear, so as you approach closer to 100%, you're going to need much more value than, let's say, like getting to 80. So the climb to 50, 60, 70 is going to be really easy, really fast. Getting closer to 80, 90s whenever you're going to start to need massive amounts of evasion. Evasion is a great skill overall, and I recommend comboing it with Energy Shield or Armor itself, so that way you have an extra buffer. So lastly, and unfortunately least, we're going to be talking about Armor. So the way that Armor works is that it mitigates your physical damage taken based on the ratio of your armor value and the incoming physical damage. So the higher your armor, the greater the damage reduction that you're going to receive. The maximum damage reduction that you can receive from your armor value is 90% compared to elemental resistances being capped at 75%. Now, in theory, you would make this think that Armor is a very good system in itself, but there's a little bit of math behind it. So in theory, you would think that if you have 90% physical damage reduction from your armor, that whenever you got hit by a physical attack, that you would only take 10% of the damage that you were supposed to take, right? Wrong. So the way that it works is POE 2 has a little hidden formula behind it that takes your armor value divided by your armor plus 12 times the damage. This is what they found through testing in the game files and everything, and I'll link the Reddit post that I'm looking at right now to kind of give you an insight to what's going on behind the scenes. But the way that it works compared to POE 1 is the value is so much higher that it's making it really hard to make armor worth using. So in its current state, it's making it really tough for people running just pure armor to work functionally in in-game, because just purely due to the amount of damage that you're taking physically, it's making it hard to sustain it just by itself. So since I'm yet to play Warrior in Path of Exile 2, I'm going to go ahead and cut my opinion short right there. I'm not going to give a final verdict on it. I'm going to look for you guys in the comment section that have played Warrior before and pushed it to in-game. How do you feel about the current system? The outcry from the community seems to be that it's not very strong itself, so please give me how you feel in the comment section, and I will be playing Warrior here soon to test these out myself. I'm over here in my Monk, and I'm playing into both Energy Shield and Evasion. So the reason that I'm playing into both is I have a solid chance to dodge being hit by projectiles and melee attacks, and then I also have a layer of defense on top of this just in case I do get hit to protect my overall life to begin with. So what this effectively does is it allows me to have a multi-level protection system against being one-shot. There's also another system that we're going to go ahead and get into, and that is your elemental resistances. So outside of the 3 basic defensive systems, the most important thing in the game is making sure that you cap out your resistances. You may have heard this term tossed around loosely, but you might be wondering, what does this actually mean? What capping out your resistances mean is getting your resistances of cold, fire, lightning, and chaos all the way up to 75%. At base, with no increases, you're going to have 75% as your cap for all 4 of these resistances, and what this effectively means is that whenever you do manage to get hit by an elemental attack, whether it be any of these 4, you're only going to be taking 75% of that said damage if you have it maxed out. So the easiest way to cap out your resistances is by going to your armor pieces, including your armor, your belt, your rings, and your amulet, and making sure that you're getting resistances on there. So you can see on things like my belt, I have 2 different types of resistances. On my boots, I have 2. On my armor, I have 2. On my gauntlets, I only have 1. And on my helmet, I have 2. And then I have 1 on each ring. So Effectively, if you spread your resistances across all your pieces of armor, it should be pretty easy to get yourself all the way to the capped resistances. Another important thing to note is that on every single piece of armor, you should be able to slot runes in here, which should increase your resistances. So you can see on my gauntlets, I have intrinsic lightning resistance thanks to the rune that I socketed in here. You can have one rune on each piece of armor except for your chest piece. You can put 2 on here. So if you don't have enough resistances, try to get resistances here instead of increased evasion and energy shield. Another effective piece of armor that is quite often forgotten is the belt. The belt you can get multiple types of resistances on of extremely high values, so make sure you're shooting for some here as well. So you may be wondering why I said to cap out all your resistances, yet my chaos is only at 10%. So the reason that this is that typically whenever I'm playing, I'm speccing into what is called chaos inoculation. Chaos inoculation is going to make me immune to chaos damage, therefore I don't even have to worry about speccing into it because I'm completely immune to it. There may be other uniques and skills in the passive skill tree that make you immune to any of the other damage types. If you could, please leave them in the comment section for anybody else watching. So a system that isn't really talked about all that much is the charms. So on your belt, you're going to notice that you have charm slots. You can get up to 3. I currently have 1. So this charm right here is going to grant me immunity to freeze. If I was to be frozen by an attack, like some big ice wave or something, it would use the charges on the charm and make me immune to being frozen. So what you effectively can do is, if you're lacking in a resistance, you can go for like a topaz ring, or you can go for an amethyst ring to where it's going to get you some bonus resistances if you get hit by that type of damage. So you could go for things like resistances, you could go for things that make you immune to bleed, you can use it to make it to where you won't be ignited, there's stun threshold, there's also ones that will increase the rarity whenever you kill a rare or unique enemy. So make sure you're slotting some charms in here, as this can kind of cover you if you're lacking in some resistances or if you have a certain thing in your build that you're really prone to. Now that you have the 3 basic defense systems, elemental resistances, and charm charges down, it's time to get into life and stun threshold. So as you're getting closer to endgame, you're going to want to increase your maximum life, that way you're not getting one shot. So what you can do to do this is you can get maximum life on your pieces of gear, such as right here I have plus 70, right here I have plus 38, and you can also shoot for it on things like your belt where I got plus 115. So shooting for it on your pieces of gear is really important, and you could also go for it on your passive skill tree off of nodes to increase your strength. For every 1 strength, you're going to get plus 2 life, so increasing your strength is an effective way at increasing your maximum life. So your stun threshold is at least partially based off your maximum life. So when you're playing a class like Warrior or Monk and you're in everything's face and smacking it and you're getting hit a lot, you could get stunned a lot. So if you have 1 HP like I do, you have a really low stun threshold, meaning I could get stunned a lot. A way to circumvent this is by going into your passive skill tree, and I can now base my stun threshold off 30% of my energy shield rather than my life. If you're not running a build like this, disregard this and go for high life, or you could get pieces on your gear like here to where it says plus 25 stun threshold. Now, I can't effectively show you because in this early access version, they don't have it on the card yet, but when they do, I will try to make an update for that. So if you're dying during bossing, it may not even be that your build's bad or anything like that. You may just need to learn the attack patterns of said boss. Certain bosses are going to have attacks that are going to one-shot you or put you in a bad situation, so it's best that you take your time to learn them. You need to watch for signals on what the boss is doing before they attack and use that to your advantage so you know when to dodge and when to be able to hit them. This game is not an easy ARPG, especially if it's your first ARPG. You need to be paying attention to certain aspects on certain types of enemies and certain attacks to look out for. So it's okay to die, especially if it's your first one. Just make sure that you're learning from why you died. Certain enemies and bosses are also going to have resistances on them inherently. So if you have a fire build and you're fighting a boss that has really high fire resistance, that also just may be it. You just may have a tough boss every now and then, so make sure you're also paying attention to that. So if you've reached endgame and you start mapping and you find yourself randomly getting one shot occasionally on some maps, or some maps just being increasingly harder for almost seemingly no reason, it may just be that you need to pay attention to certain waystone modifiers. So you have waystones like this to where you're going to have increased crit damage bonus and hit chance from monsters. So that can make it to where you're getting one shot more often because they're critting you. You have extra damage as fire damage and reduced flash charges. So the monsters are going to be doing 40% extra damage as fire damage on top of their normal attacks. And then the reduced flash charges are going to reduce your life and mana flash charges. So, less healing, less mana restored. You have ones like this where you have areas of patching burning ground. You have chilled ground and shock ground. The burning ground is going to take away your energy shield or your health. The shock ground is going to increase the damage that you take, and the chilled ground is going to slow you down. You have ones like this that increase monster life. You want to watch out for these, as if you're struggling to kill monsters, this is just going to make it even harder to do. You have ones like this that will increase the ailment threshold and the stun threshold. So that way, if you're trying to shock or freeze or anything like that or ignite, it's going to make it harder to do that. And then stun threshold, if your build revolves around stunning enemies, it's going to be now harder to stun them. You also have temporal chains. Temporal chains is going to slow you down and decrease your attack speed. So watch out for those. Right here, like 200% increased stun build up. That's going to suck to deal with. Extra chaos damage on top of the normal attack. So if you don't have maxed out chaos resistance, this could really put a hurting on you. We have monsters are armored, so if you're doing physical attacks and you're hitting some monsters, they're now armored. You have to break that armor to do extra damage. We have some crits, some extra lightning, so it can hurt me really bad. We have monster damage penetrates 25% elemental resistances, so they're going to penetrate some of your elemental resistances and do some more damage. We have chance to poison and extra fire damage, so if you're prone to being poisoned or anything like that, that's really going to hurt you. That's like chaos damage. And then ones like this to where monsters break armor equal to 50% of physical damage dealt. So when they're hitting you, if you're running an armor build and you're getting hit by this, it's going to break your armor. And as it's breaking your armor, your total resistances are going to go down. So you need to be watching out for what waystones you put in your maps, because if you pick some really bad ones, it's just going to make mapping harder for you. So make sure you're picking ones that benefit you while also increasing your waystone drop chance. Anyways, that's going to be it for the video. Please feel free to leave any suggestions down in the comments, as this is a new player guide and I'm sure I left out some things. This is more or less for people like me who were new to the POE series and didn't play the previous game. So any comments, relating to suggestions would be great down below. I am going to be doing a giveaway on the channel. So if you could just leave a comment under the pinned comment below, and I'm going to be giving away gift cards. I was going to do currency, but GGG will actually ban me for giving away currency related to views, followers, subscribers. So I've kind of switched it up. So please comment down below if you want to be included in the giveaway, and I'll be doing that once we hit 1K subs on the channel. So I appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.